Hey, what's going on, Guardians? My name is the Black Link, and over the course of Destiny 2 the Witch Queen, we've gotten access to a ton of different mods, a ton of different new abilities. We've got Void 3.0, and there are just so many different awesome builds to play with right now. But I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about what my favorite current build is. Let me ask you a series of questions. Do you like infinite grenades? Do you like infinite overshields? How about getting your health back all the time? Do you like basically having a pocket super available to you that also supercharges your real super? Well, if you answered yes to any of those, Void 3.0, especially on Warlock, has got a great class available for you. This is basically what took me through Legendary campaign. It's taking me through Legendary content right now. I run my Lost sectors with it, and basically all of the in-game content that's available right now. It's probably what I'm going to take into the raid. And it completely revolves around the ability to almost instantaneously regenerate grenade energy. So let's go ahead and dive on into it. First off, I am running this on Voidwalker for Warlocks. Void 3.0 has given us a lot of great benefits here. For the most part, it's a fairly standard build. We've got our Healing Rift, of course, Burst Glide, Pocket Singularity, and for the grenade, you're going to want Vortex Grenade. The reason why is we're going to be using an overcharge ability that's going to allow us to make these Vortex Grenades last longer, hit harder, and also draw in enemies. Moving on to the aspects, we've got, of course, Feed the Void. Defeat a target with a Void ability to activate Devour. While Devour is active, Final Blows restore health and extend the Devour ability. This is going to be a part of your bread and butter for this build. Basically, anytime you get a kill with a Void ability, whether it's your melee, your grenade, or your super, and you're going to be getting a lot of grenade kills with this build, you're going to get your full health back, and you're going to start to regenerate ability energy alongside it. After that, of course, we've got Chaos Accelerant. This is an extremely important mod. With this, you hold your grenade button to overcharge your grenade, making it deadlier and more effective. This has different effects based on the type of Void Grenade you're using, but for Vortex Grenade, it increases the size of the Vortex Grenade and the linger duration of the Vortex, so it becomes bigger and it lasts longer. If only holding things made it that easy. Moving on to the fragments, we've got Echo of Expulsion, where Void ability Final Blows will cause targets to explode. This is very much like the volatile debuff that's tied to Void right now. So basically, any enemies killed by your grenade or your melee are going to blow up and take other enemies out as well. Then we've got Echo of Undermining. Your Void grenades weaken targets. With the weaken status effect, targets will take increased damage and have their movement speed slowed. Afflicted combatants will also have difficulty firing accurately, meaning they're going to have a harder time hitting you, and when they do hit you, they deal less damage. Finally, we've got Echo of Remnants. Your lingering grenade effects, like Vortex Grenade, Void Wall, Void Spike, and Axion Bolt, will have increased duration. This is going to make your Vortex Grenades last way longer, which will allow them to draw in more enemies over a longer period of time and give you more kills, more ability energy back, and all kinds of other benefits. That's the basic setup for your abilities here in Void 3.0. The super for this build doesn't really matter too much. I'm playing for big damage in PvE, so Cataclysm's generally what I stick with. Artifact-wise, this build doesn't really require too much. Generally, you're going to want something like Thermal Shock Plating that helps with in-game content. Font of Might, definitely a must-have in terms of in-game damage as well. And then something like Overload Grenades, Volatile Flow, and if you've gotten enough to unlock it, Devouring Depths is really great for this build too. With this, casting your Void Super while you're critically wounded or benefiting from Devour will increase your damage with that super. It just helps you get a bit more DPS off if you're using something like Nova Bomb. Let's move on to some of the armor mods. First up, we've got double ashes to assets here on the helmet. With these, you gain bonus super energy on grenade kills. We mix that up with one of the artifact mods, Volatile Flow, where picking up a Void Elemental Well grants your Void weapons volatile rounds. This is an Elemental Well build. With all the grenade kills that you're going to be getting, you toss on some ordnance mods, and then you're going to be seeing wells everywhere. When you pick up those wells, you're going to get a myriad of effects, but this one is huge. Being able to blow enemies up by just using your Void weapons is massive in the in-game right now, especially considering we have a lot of really great Void weapons. Next up, we've got the exotic for this build, CONTRAVERSE Hold. Now this is actually where there's some flexibility. There's a lot of different exotics that you could run with this build, including the new Warlock exotic boots, the Secant Filaments. But in higher end content where enemies start to hit a little on the hard side, I like to run the CONTRAVERSE hold because I'm a madman who jumps right into the middle of combat, which you're going to be seeing over the course of this video, and the CONTRAVERSE hold special ability helps out with that. They come with Chaotic Exchanger. Resist incoming damage while charging your Void Grenade. Charged Void Grenades return grenade energy on a hit, so while you're charging up those grenades, you get further increased resilience against enemies, helping you to survive in some of the higher end encounters in the game. And it makes it so every hit, every tick of damage your grenade does is also going to give you grenade energy back. This is the reason why you're seeing my grenade energy basically jumping up beyond the 50% point as soon as it starts hitting enemies. With all the bonuses we've got to Vortex grenades with the way they deal damage and linger now, this is giving you a ton of grenade energy back for every tick of damage it's doing. Mod-wise here, the important one is Elemental Ordnance. Defeating a combatant with a grenade spawns an elemental well that matches your subclass energy type. This is the mod that allows you to spawn those void elemental wells every time you get a grenade kill. The other mods are less important, they're going to be based more on your personal preference, but you definitely want to be running Elemental Ordnance. Next up, we've got the chest piece, and with this I'm running Thermoshock Plating for some extra survivability, as well as some grenade launcher reserves because I like to use Parasite as my heavy weapon for burst damage, and finally of course, Well of Tenacity. There's also some flexibility here with some of the Void Elemental Well mods, but Well of Tenacity has basically taken over for Protective Light. With Well of Tenacity, picking up a Void Elemental Well reduces the damage you take from combatants for a short period of time, and that damage reduction is pretty massive. This mod comes in clutch and will definitely keep you alive in some of the hairier situations you're going to find in endgame. But again, some people might consider it to be a little bit redundant. If you're proccing your grenades and you're proccing Devour, you're basically not going to need much damage protection so long as you're continually getting kills. But I like to play it safe and run with Well of Tenacity. However, if you're somebody who's comfortable running without Well of Tenacity, I could definitely recommend something like Seeking Wells, since you're going to be spawning a lot of elemental wells all over the battlefield, and without Seeking Wells, you're basically going to have to make your way to those wells and pick them up, which can be a little bit dangerous in endgame content. With Seeking Wells, those wells are going to track to your position and fly straight to you. This is a great replacement if you don't think you need Well of Tenacity. Moving on to the boots. We've got Bountiful Wells. This is also a majorly important mod to have on this build. With this, elemental well mods that cause you to spawn elemental wells can now stack, spawning additional wells for each additional copy of the mod you have equipped. With this, you can double up on elemental ordnance mods to spawn as many elemental wells as you need. If you double up on these, you're basically never going to run into a situation in which you don't almost instantly recover all of your grenade energy after getting 1 or 2 kills with the grenade. And again, you're going to be seeing a lot of that in the video here. Generally speaking, so long as I get 2 or more kills with that grenade, I almost instantaneously get all of my grenade energy back. And anytime that there's a little bit left to go on it, you just pick up an elemental well mod or 2, and that finishes out the rest of it. Oftentimes, even getting 1 enemy kill and then picking up all of the elemental well mods that are going to be dropping from this build will generally get you back to max grenade energy in no time flat. Not to mention all the other benefits that we're talking about here with the health regeneration, the super regeneration, and even more. Anyways, moving on, next up we've got the class item, and this is another piece where you're going to have a lot of wiggle room to basically perfect on your own. This is by no means even an optimized build, and you're seeing how well it's working in a lot of the content that I'm playing here. I mean, I'm going through 1550 missions like Vox Obscura, and replaying the legendary campaign, which caps you underneath a certain power level, and we're still having no trouble clearing up these ads at all. But for the class item, I'm running a solar one with Double Bomber. This reduces grenade cooldown when using your class ability. So if I ever happen to find myself in a situation like, or maybe I'm playing with some other people and they kill a group of enemies before my grenade does, that's the only general instance in which I can think of in which you'll have to wait a bit for your grenade energy to come back. But you just drop a well and you'll get a big chunk of your grenade energy back just from doing that. Next up, of course, we've got Font of Might. This is an artifact mod this season, thankfully so. It really knocks down that energy cost there. And with this, picking up an elemental well that matches your subclass energy type grants a temporary bonus to weapon damage of that same element type. Since we're running a Void subclass, picking up all of these Void elemental wells is going to give our Void weapons even more damage. We'll talk a bit more about that in a second. And then, of course, I'm also rocking Overload grenades. For that in-game content, you're going to be facing a lot of Overload champions. The worst champions, by the way. And this will make it so that your overcharged grenades will stun them as well as stopping their energy regeneration and dealing massive damage to their health. Again, here, there's a lot of variability. You can change this up a ton. If you're someone who doesn't use a lot of void weapons, you can swap this out for something like another elemental ordnance to get even more of that grenade energy back when you're picking up a well. You can run with elemental armaments, elemental light. You can go font of wisdom even if you're trying to get some additional supers in your gameplay. There's a lot of variability with this build. And so long as you're getting those kills with grenades, you're going to be getting that energy back and dealing massive damage to enemies. Alright, let's talk about weapon choices here, because there's a lot of different great options available in the Witch Queen right now. For me, personally, I'm using a grenade launcher as my primary weapon. This is the ignition code from a season or two ago, and this is primarily for the damage that grenade launchers do, and demolitionist, where kills with the weapon generate grenade energy. Activating your grenade ability also reloads this weapon from reserves. This is a build all about throwing grenades, so it works perfectly with demolitionist. And again, for those times out there where I actually do find myself without grenade energy, 1 or 2 kills with ignition code generally solves that problem. But of course, there are plenty of other options for you to choose from. One of the great ones is any kind of weapon with Adrenaline Junkie. If you happen to be lucky with your prophecy farming, you can get an Adrenaline Junkie demolitionist role of a weapon, which is absolutely perfect for this build. That's a highly sought after weapon roll that'll work with a ton of different builds, but especially for this one. These 2 perks work great in tandem. But generally for my special weapon, I, like many other people, am running the FUNNELWEBO Legendary Submachine Gun. This is a current world drop that is just, it's Recluse 2.0. If you can get a decent roll of this thing, something like Subsistence, Frenzy, or even a ton of other combinations, this gun absolutely shreds. And when you get Font of Might going, it shreds even harder. This is a great weapon. I wish you guys luck on your farming for it. Bungie just nerfed. They just nerfed the Throne World chest cheese that people were using to farm this thing up. So good luck on getting a decent roll of it in the future, but it's a fantastic weapon to use in tandem with this build. And finally, for my heavy weapon, I'm just running Parasite right now. This thing deals laughable amounts of damage. It's great for burst DPS phases, especially if you power up Worm's Hunger to times 20 by getting a bunch of kills before switching to this weapon. It's just an all-around good gun. But alright, Guardians, that's pretty much it for this build. That's what I'm having a lot of fun running with right now with Void 3.0. There's a lot of different things you can do here. Like I said, I haven't even optimized it. Look, I'm running at 69 giggity for my discipline stat there. That could be a lot better. I could optimize a lot more things with it. But even in a sub-optimized form, this is carrying me through all types of content. And plus, I'm having a ton of fun with it. But anyways, I just want to talk a little bit about this Void build that I have been running for the past week or two. Hopefully you Guardians are finding some builds you enjoy. Right now, there's another Warlock build that basically gives you infinite freezing grenades. I might have to talk about that one real soon. But that's it for this one. If you like the way this build looks, be sure to give it a try. And if you've got any other builds, be sure to share those with your fellow Guardians down in the comment section below. If you guys enjoyed, feel free to drop a like, make sure you subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest stuff we're putting out. But bye for now. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty.